Greetings, salutations, all that good stuff. For those of you who are watching this live, great, welcome. Hi, how you doing? And for those of you going to watch the recording, welcome. Hey, how you doing? All that good stuff. I am doing this just for the fun of it, actually. I do a lot of the Simmons Says tips and things like that via my website, via Instagram. I have a couple of pages on Facebook where I drop tips and things from time to time. Chris Ryan and I do the Tell the Damn Story podcast, which has, I believe we're up to episode 322 or 23. So we've been doing that for a while. But I thought just this time I would come on and answer some questions that have been put to me various ways by some other writers, by some students of mine, some clients of mine. And I made a short list because I'm only going to be on for a little while, but I made a short list and I thought if I would do this way, folks listening in would have a chance to hear my take on things and either agree or disagree, or maybe discover some aspect or process or methodology you hadn't quite considered yet. So here we go. Let me just go to the list and pull up the first question, which says I've mentioned a number of times about how unique ideas or wacky ideas or ideas that may be ahead of their time or seem ridiculous or crazy at that time, how people shouldn't squash those things, but actually figure out a way to explore them. And someone said, would you mind giving some examples of that? Now, I did on one of my Instagram posts, but I'm going to mention one here that I didn't mention there, and I'm going to mention one that I did. So here we go. So the first one is I want you to think about the 1960s. Chris Ryan on my podcast on Tell the Damn Story, Chris is always talking about the Alex Simmons Wayback Machine. That's what happens when you've been around a while. So 1961 in particular, there was this film concept that was put out there. Now, in order for you to appreciate what I'm going to say about the film concept, let me just quickly tell you what was going on in 1961. Okay. In 61, you had several things happening. You had space travel. I believe the first astronaut to go out there in space was Russian. Yeah. John F. Kennedy soon after that said, hey, let's commit to getting the United States out there too. And we did. And so life goes on, oobla dee. But we also had the Berlin Wall going up at that time. That's right. Dividing Germany into two parts, East and West, as we had the Berlin Wall. We had the civil rights movement going on at that time, which is very key to what I'm going to talk about, the civil rights movement. So we had people protesting, people of color, Black people, African Americans, protesting for our rights to eat in restaurants, to get jobs, to live where we want, all of those things. And slowly but surely, we started building up a movement that was putting feet on the ground, that was putting marches out there and people standing out there with protest signs and things like that, really making ourselves seen and making the circumstances seen. And in particular, in 1961, on one of these marches, there was a bus that was bombed, blown up. So you could tell that some people weren't that thrilled that we were pushing for equal rights, didn't want to hear about it. There's no reason for us to be eating at lunch counters where we're not wanted. No reason for us to be able to use a washroom or a bathroom wherever it may be in the middle of wherever. Nope, no reason for that. No reason for us to have better jobs, be able to live where we want, and be able to get education where we want. Nope, nope, nope. Let's keep the status quo. And right around that time, some lucky folks went in to see the big boss at a film studio and said, hey, I got a great idea. Great idea, fantastic idea. With all the movies being done right now, Ben-Hur and the Caine Mutiny and Elvis Presley in Hawaii and all these other great things, all these great blockbuster films, broad films, cinematic color, all this great stuff. We're going to do a film about a Black family. And the story is about the mother who wants to pull together enough money so she can buy a house for them all to live in, her adult age son, his wife, their little child, and the sister. All of them can live in a house here. And that's what the movie's going to be about. And I can imagine some execs going, wait a minute, wait, a Black family, people of color, or as they would have said then, colored. I don't know about that. Come on, is it going to be like it's a gang thing? No, no gang, no. As a matter of fact, the son is trying to get a job. He's trying to work. He's trying to get a hustle going. That's going to be a hustle. Okay, great. So he's going to be doing drugs. No, there's no drugs. There's no drugs. No, no. How about the girl? Is she going to be having a loose life? No, she's actually dating a college guy who's also Black. So it's going to be cool. It's going to be cool. So, really, you really think this is going to go anywhere? And somehow, thanks to Lorraine Hansberry's play and the reactions and conceivably the movement that was going on at that time, the awareness that things had to change. A Raisin in the Sun was produced and was recognized and is still one of the classics of that time. So sometimes crazy ideas, you got to give them a shot. You got to look at the odds and go, yep, I'm going to roll against them. Now, let's come forward a little bit in time and just do one other show. This one, it's a TV series that started several years ago. I'm not sure the exact year, but I'm thinking early 2000s. And the show was called Dexter. All right. Now, I really would love to have been a fly on the wall when someone went in to pitch this one. We're going to do a TV series, right, about this guy. This guy is a detective. No, he's not a detective. About this guy. He does work for the police department. Oh, okay. So he's a cop and he's solving crimes. Yeah, he solves crimes. Okay, great. And what's he got a family? He's dating a woman who has a child already from a previous relationship, but he's having some problems with that. Oh, yeah. So he's sleeping around. No, that's not really it. No, you see, the cop, the guy, yeah. He's a serial killer. Excuse me? What? What? Yeah, he's a serial killer. The cop goes after him. No, the cop is a serial killer. You have a serial killer cop. Did he turn serial killer because? No, he's pretty much the way his mind worked all of his life. Matter of fact, he was raised by another cop. It's the cop's kid. Not exactly. He was traumatized when he saw his mother brutally murdered by somebody else, and the cop was the one who came onto the scene. And it's going to be messy. As a matter of fact, it's going to be so messy that when he kills people, it's really disgusting. It's pretty messy. It's got blood everywhere. But don't worry about it, because he only kills serial killers. We got a serial killer cop who kills serial killers, and it's going to be messy. We're going to see blood and everything here. Yeah, it'll be great. Now, again, up until that moment, that kind of material was pretty much only seen on the big screen now and then. And I don't remember if Criminal Minds was on at that time, but okay, once again, it wasn't as graphic. Dexter was graphic. And how do you get an audience to empathize with someone who brutally murders people? What a challenge. And they pulled it off for 8 seasons and then eventually brought the series back. So sometimes crazy idea, whether you love it or not, the right time, the right combination of talent, you can make it happen. So that's my answer to that one. So let's go to the next question. Let's see, what do we got here? Oh, okay. So it says here, I got to watch what I say sometimes. So how do you encourage students to let their ideas develop fully before making any judgments? What strategies or exercises do you use? Okay. This is based on the fact that I'm often telling people, please do not judge your ideas the second you have them. Okay. You have them, oh, that's probably going to be stupid. Oh, no one ever buy that one. Oh, I could never work that one out. Don't do that. That may be easier said than done, but you know what? Don't do that. And my example for that is this. You're in a hospital, or maybe you're in somebody's house. But anyway, mother has just given birth to a baby. There it is. It's no bigger than a small loaf of bread. It's covered in the mucus and all the other kind of stuff, right? Maybe it's, maybe not, but either way, there it is. It's brand new baby. Not hasn't even been fully cleaned off yet and all that. Just brand new, just fresh out into the world. And someone goes, "Oh, look, it doesn't walk. Yeah, put it back. No. Give it up. No. Return it. No. No. Because it's new. It's brand new. It's just arrived. It's just arrived. And you can look at it and you can hold it in a way and you can start to clean it up and then you can lay it down and you can let it rest and you can gaze at it, think about it, contemplate possibilities and give it time. And during that time, which in the baby reference metaphor is weeks, months, years, it will have experiences. It will ask questions. It will learn things. It will cause you to think about it differently. And as you think about it differently and interact with it more and learn more and more about it, you will see possibilities, possibly problematic ones, possibly inspiring ones. But in that amount of time, you can get a better view of what is possible. And that's all I ask for, is to give your ideas some time. They are not here fully fleshed out, fully developed the second you have them. They are the seed, the kernel of a concept. They are, if anything, a flicker of light in the dark, a spark of inspiration. Give it time. Give yourself time to consider it, discuss it, review it, explore it, and then see what possibilities might exist. So that's my take on that. Okay. So let me go to the next question, because I said I wouldn't keep you too long here. Okay. This one says, you mentioned the importance of different perspectives and new twists on old themes. And I do have to watch what I say. How do you encourage your clients and students and yourself in terms of your writing? Are there exercises or prompts or things like that? Okay, so old twists, old themes, old stories, old ideas, right? Okay. Uh, I'll do this one on me too. As a kid, I was a great lover of Sherlock Holmes stories. I started out by seeing the movies, with Basil Rathbone and some of these other actors over the years. But as also because you got to read, you do these reading assignments in school, and sometimes they give you of human bondage. I'm going to read this, but I could read a Sherlock Holmes story, and that might be more exciting, more intriguing, Hound of the Baskervilles or whatever. But anyway, I got into reading a lot of the Sherlock Holmes stories. I enjoyed watching the movies, and it really became a part of the enjoyment of my life, my growing up and my youth. And as I was growing up, I also became aware of something else, that I was a Black man in the United States in this world. This is now coming up in the 60s and 70s. This is that world where certain opportunities were not going to be offered to me, or certain things were not going to be expected of me, or certain things had been done to my people and to keep us down or back. So there's a whole perspective about life that had nothing to do with Sherlock Holmes in England in the 1800s. But I was experiencing this as well. I was encountering things, I was learning things, and certainly because of the civil rights movement, I was becoming aware of the fact that there was a lot of missing parts to history in which we were involved. And there were people of color, Black, white, and whatever, and the Native American and so forth, who went out and accomplished things and discovered things and were celebrities, right? So I'm starting to learn about all this stuff. And at one point, I learned about this Black actor, a real life Black actor from the 1800s, who was in New York, was born and raised in New York, but eventually made his way over to England as an actor with a British touring company, and then became a celebrity over there, toured around Europe, and developed quite a name of himself as an actor, a Black actor doing Shakespeare. And I'm thinking, wow, this is crazy. This is real life. And what time period was he there? He died before the fictitious Sherlock Holmes had a career, but the family he left behind, some very strange and questionable things happened to them. Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Ooh, this is continental this and diplomacy that, and questions here and embezzlement of money and funds they had. And suddenly the brain began to stir the elements of Sherlock Holmes, my favorite detective from that era, with the real life experiences of Ira Aldridge and his family, who lived in Europe and in London. And what could I do with that old fictitious character and this old Black actor who lived 100+ years before? What could I do with that? And I did eventually combine it into a play, which was called Sherlock Holmes in the Hands of Othello, which, after several years of rewrites and readings, where you have actors with the script in their hand reading the parts and portraying the characters as best they can, was finally produced off-Broadway and was reviewed, and then eventually became published in a collection of plays To this day, I'm amazed that I was in a book with August Wilson, Amiri Baraka, and Ed Bullen, to name a few. Sometimes how we see something from the past or a theme that's been around for a while and how we explore that, combine those elements, is limited only by what we allow ourselves to imagine as possibilities. Okay. All right. So I hope that gives you some sense of my take on that. If you have questions, by the way, feel free to drop them in the comment section or email me. I'll leave my email address here so you guys can reach out. And if you want to contradict me, feel free. I don't have to agree with you. You don't have to agree with me. That's okay. We're good. All right. Let's see. I got another one here. You describe the creative process as a treasure hunt. Yes, I do. And I do believe that. What are some of the most surprising or rewarding treasures you've discovered through your creative journey? Through my creative journey? Too numerous to mention, although I've mentioned a couple. But let me use my students, my current students, as an example in this case. Okay. First off, I love watching my students when they get it, when I've given them some sort of an assignment and they're struggling to come up with an idea for the next film project or the next book project and everything like that. And then suddenly the light goes on and they get it. And we're talking it through something. Oh, but how's this going to work? And we talk about it and they go, then I could do this, I could do that. So that's a charge. I get a major rush out of that. I love it because I know what that feels like. I know what that feels like. And when you see newbies getting it and you feel that rush of energy, you realize that you're just passing on what was passed on to you when I was in their place and somebody was helping me get it. So that's a big plus for me right there. But the other one is the other day I was teaching a class and I gave the students 5 prompts, 5 little 1 sentence remarks. And I told them, pick one of these prompts, one of these situations, and develop a plot based on it. And you can create a couple of characters to go with it, right? So out of the 5, pick one. And they were very different, okay? Very different. And the students went to work. It's like 12 of them, 12, 13 of them in the room. And after a certain period of time, we did talk back. Okay, all right, what did you come up with? Blah, 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 blah. And several of them came up. They picked this one, they picked that one, they picked this one, and they came up with some great ideas, and it was fun. And it was sometimes a story idea concept they came up with spoke to something that they were dealing with personally. So you could tell where they went for that. It was all great. And then this one student, this one student says, okay, I got one for you. This is special. And he had taken all 5 of the prompts, which were very different. And he magnificently combined them into this bizarre concept for a story that had us all laughing and going, oh my God, boy, if we could do that, if we did this would happen, that would, and we just took off on that. It was fun, it was clever, and it also spoke to the possibilities of what happens when you just let the mind go. When you just root around or you dig around for those little gold coins, those little inspirational ideas, those little concepts. And when you find that treasure, when you find that hint of a treasure, you dig further and look what you can come up with. So to me, sometimes it's the experience I have when I'm coming up with story ideas or working on a story. And at other times, it's watching my students or my clients get it and run with it and somehow dig in there and uproot the riches that are possible when they let their minds go. Okay. All right. Just a couple more here. Let's see. What do we got here? Ooh, okay. Here's one. How do you tell the hard stories or write about the difficult or sensitive topics? It's a different thing for different people, but I'll try and cover it here in a short form. If it's something personal from your life, and you're concerned that if you reveal it, people are going to look at you differently or be offended by you, or it's going to bare your soul to the world, and you're not sure how you're going to deal with that, then that obviously is a hard decision, and you have to make that decision for yourself. And I will give you one yardstick that I use for that in a moment. Okay, so if it's something about you, that's your decision. And there's a way that you can start to look at that, but Only you can make that decision. Secondly, if it's material about someone else and they could be offended or embarrassed or shamed or angry if you reveal this, it's not about you, it's about them. Mm-hmm. Okay, one, you got to ask yourself, why do you feel compelled to do this? And then once you're clear on that to some degree, you have to really own up to the fact that it's on you to get their permission to seek them out and speak to them and see if they're going to be okay with this, or if they're going to cooperate with you, or if they're going to blow their stack and absolutely insist that you not do it. And then you have to figure out whether or not you will respect their wishes. So that's a toughie. That's a toughie. If it's writing a story about an issue, political or social issue, that's highly sensitive and uh, pokes the bear, as it were, it's got volatile reactions on all sides, then the step that I suggest for that is the one that I also suggest for the first one, which is if it's something about you that you're concerned about revealing. And that is, you have to ask yourself, why? Why do I want to do this? Why do I want to tell a story about something that is embarrassing or hurtful to me? What's my purpose? What's the need I have to put that out there? In the case of a social issue or commentary or maybe a racial issue or whatever, why? Why do I want to poke this bear or several bears? Why do I want to throw myself into this potential melee? What's my reason for doing this? If it's sensationalistic, and I'm going to speak purely for myself, not in a sort of a third person point of view. If it's just for the sensationalistic hype of it, the gimmick, the it's going to get a rise out of people and that's going to be cool and that's going to get me attention, I would say you can do it, but I sure as heck don't think much of you. Just that's just it. To poke the bear for the sake of to embarrass other people, to possibly shame other people, or to create a volatile circumstance just for the sake of getting a rise out of folks for the fun of it, or so that you get more money, that requires that you look at either your job or your ethics. If you're a reporter and your job is report on these things and that's what you're doing, then you're not just doing it to get a rise out of people, you're also doing it because it's your job. But if you're just doing it because you think it's fun to throw gasoline on a fire, you got to think about that. If it's because you want to say something, you want to explore this theme or these problems because they need to be looked at, they need to be expressed, we need to have a conversation about it. Maybe if people would talk about this more, some people might feel less alone or feel less frightened by the unusual or something that's not quite their norm. If you feel that there's some good that can come of this, okay, how much good, and is it worth whatever difficulty, embarrassment, or things that you might have to face because of this? I feel that some hard stories need to be told. Uh, if it's a personal story, then why are you going to tell it? Why would I tell the story about my father walking out on my mother? I would tell that story because we persevered in spite of that, because it helped me decide that I was going to be a better father, that I would never walk out on my kids, and I would sure as heck not walk out on my wife. I just not going to do that. That was a lesson I learned from that. I knew what pain we felt. I knew what my mom went through trying to raise me pretty much by herself. And I know how it hurt her when someone she loved like crazy didn't love and respect her the same way. And so when I tell that story, yeah, it's not like, yeah, my dad was a great guy and he was there for us. No, I can't tell that story. I can tell the story that I just did, because the point of it is, please don't do that. Please don't do that to the kids. They didn't ask to be here. That was on you. That was on you and your partner. Own up to your responsibilities. Try and be there for them. Help them not have to go through the garbage that some of us did. So that would be my reason for doing that. And if it then talks about absentee fathers or black fathers, then hey, that's what we talk about. But my reason for doing that is to try and improve on this situation so that it happens to fewer and fewer people. So that's how one can consider that kind of material, how to tell the hard stories, how to tell the difficult stories, the sensitive stories, decide on why you're going to do it, what do you want to talk about, how much pain or difficulty or challenge is it going to cause you or others. Weigh all that material and then please hopefully make a clear and ethical decision. Okay. One more. Yeah, one more. Yeah, one more. Okay, we got one more. Okay, can you talk more about your concepts of mining the ideas from your head based on past experiences? How do you ensure that you're capturing the most valuable elements? I'm not quite sure how I'm going to answer that very last part of that, uh, because I'm not always sure I'm capturing the most valuable elements. I can feel things and I can go for things. I can try for things, but I'm not always sure I'm going to get it. And that's a part of the process too. But in terms of mining things from my past or my mind's eye, okay, I hope you'll consider this more of a humorous one. When I was in elementary school, yes, that's right, back in the pioneer days now. When I was in elementary school, I think maybe the third grade, uh, there was a young girl whose last name was Munoz. I'm not going to say her first name. And she had a sister, and they were both in my class. And I can honestly say I was about as smitten as a little third grade kid could get, a little pudgy, didn't have any moves, third grade boy can be over this adorable, wonderful, sweet young lady. And I am certain as all heck that given enough time, I would have eventually done something truly stupid in order to get her attention. And she would have probably laughed at me or whatever, but at least I would have made some sort of an effort at some point and probably not successful. But the opportunity got snatched right out of my hands because her family moved her and her sister back to Puerto Rico. And I cannot tell you why, but I've never forgotten her. I have never forgotten her name. And every now it just washes over me. And I'm that third grade kid again, sitting there in the classroom. I can see where the windows are and the chairs and the tables and all that kind of stuff. And I can remember her. Can I tell you why? And I since have met people that I did date and marry and have a family with, and I love madly and all that kind of good stuff. And life went on. I didn't sit in my closet and mourn this for decades, but I've never forgotten her. And so at some point, I gave myself about a year or so ago, during COVID, as a matter of fact, I gave myself the exercise of writing a short story every year. No, I'm sorry, every month. And one of the first stories I wrote was about a person who goes through something like this. And the whole time I'm writing it, I'm thinking of her. Now, again, I have no idea what she did with her life. She went back to Puerto Rico. I'm sure she's a very smart young girl, as I remember her, very intelligent, very personable. And so I hope truly that she had nothing but a wonderful, happy life. And she's probably got grandchildren bouncing on her knees by now. But while I was writing, remembering that, I used that kid-like feeling about this person as part of the backstory for this character that I created, who fell in love with a woman who he eventually meets years later again and develops a relationship and they have this adventure together. And it works out very nicely because sometimes I like happy endings. Okay. That's just me. But the value of remembering our experiences, and in particular the ones that stay with us, I think my friend Chris Ryan is always quoting, because he reads so many more authors than I do. I believe he quotes Stephen King as saying, "It's the ideas that won't go away, that haunt you, that stay with you no matter what. Those are the ones you should work on." So if I'm not going to forget that wonderful little girl from the third grade, then I might as well add her to my literary life and utilize it and utilize whatever feelings I felt then as a catalyst for a character as he or she or they move through their lives. And that's what we can do as writers. I often tell my students and other writers that I'm meeting with and talking to that I believe if our job, if our passion, our career is to reflect life, then we have to not only see it, but live it and then record it. In other words, the things that we remember, put that down as notes or in a story or a play or a screenplay or whatever it is that you're doing. If you're a composer of music, put it into music, put it into songs. Many great lyricists have done that. Many great singing performers have done it. Many great rappers have done that. So it's how do we see the world? How do we experience the world? What do we believe? What do we feel? Use all that material to generate stories told in our own voice, which is the big thing that makes the difference between what I write and 37 other Black men my age might write. 38 other men my age might write. 47 other women my age might write. The idea is who we are is a very major part of what we do. Okay, that was my live for the day. I haven't done this in a long time, and I will probably do it again, maybe in the fall, as the leaves begin to fall from the trees and turn those lovely colors and all that kind of good stuff, and the crisp air is back. You'll see me again. And in the meantime, drop by my Alex Simmons Says Instagram page, or drop by my Alex Simmons Facebook page, or Simmons Here and Now Facebook page. I'm on Thread as Alex Simmons Says. Just stop by. Okay. And again, if you have any reactions to what I've said today, you want to comment some questions, drop them in the comment section here, or I'm going to post this later also on Facebook in the How to Go Right For It Facebook page, as well as a couple of other areas. So feel free to comment. Thank you. Be well and enjoy the rest of the day.